most men think a hug is nothing. A quick greeting, a polite goodbye, a simple moment that doesn't really mean much. They go in, hug quickly, pull away, and move on without giving it a second thought. But what most men don't realize is that a hug is one of the most revealing moments in any interaction with a woman. Because in that short moment of physical contact, her body is telling you exactly how she feels. Her comfort, her interest, her level of connection with you, and sometimes even her attraction. The problem is not that women don't show these signals. The problem is that most men have no idea how to read them. So they miss it. They hug awkwardly, they pull away too fast. Or they hesitate because they don't know what the moment means. And without realizing it, they send the wrong message back. They signal nervousness, they signal uncertainty. And sometimes they even signal disinterest when that's the opposite of what they feel. Before we go any deeper, I want you to do something simple. If you've ever felt confused in a moment like this, if you've ever walked away from an interaction wondering, did she like me or not? Then take 1 second right now and like this video, and tell me in the comments, what's one moment with a woman that left you overthinking afterward? I read those, and trust me, you're not alone in this. Now let me introduce myself. My name is Sarah Jones, and I want you to think of me not just as someone explaining attraction, but as someone helping you see what you've been missing all along. Because once you understand this, you don't just become better at reading women. You become more present, more aware, and naturally more confident in every interaction you have. And here's the truth that most people don't talk about. Attraction doesn't live in big, obvious moments. It lives in small, quiet ones. The kind you almost ignore. A glance, a pause, a slight shift in body language. And yes, a hug. Let me ask you something. Have you ever hugged someone, and afterward, something just felt different? You couldn't explain it, but it stayed with you for a few seconds longer than usual. Maybe it felt warmer, maybe it felt closer, maybe it made you think about her even after you walked away. That feeling is not random. That's communication without words. You see, psychologically, human beings are wired to express truth through their bodies far more honestly than through speech. Words are filtered, controlled, adjusted depending on the situation. But body language? That's instinctive. That's real. And this is exactly why a hug matters more than you think. Because in that one moment, there is no performance. There is no script. There is just feeling. The way she leans in, or doesn't. The way her arms wrap around you, or barely touch you. The way she pulls away quickly, or stays just a second longer than expected. These are not random actions. These are emotional responses. And yet, most men completely miss it. They're waiting for something obvious, something clear, something verbal. They want her to say, "I like you." But attraction rarely works like that. It's subtle. It's layered. It reveals itself through patterns, not announcements. And this is where everything starts to shift for you. Because once you begin to see these patterns, you stop guessing, you stop overthinking, you stop chasing certainty, and instead, you start understanding. Now here's something important you need to understand before we even get into the types of hugs. Most men don't fail because they lack confidence. They fail because they lack awareness. And there's a big difference. Confidence without awareness can come off as forced, awkward, even overwhelming. But awareness naturally builds confidence. When you understand what's happening, you don't need to pretend. You don't need to guess. You just respond. Let me give you a real-life example. A man meets a woman at a small gathering. They talk for a while, laugh a bit, and when it's time to leave, they hug. She gives him a slightly longer hug than usual. Not dramatic, not obvious, just a little longer. Now here's where two different men react differently. The first man pulls away quickly. He feels the moment but doesn't trust it. He breaks it before it can develop. Later, he wonders why things didn't go anywhere. The second man notices. He doesn't overthink it. He doesn't panic. He simply stays present for that extra second. He matches her energy. He lets the moment breathe. And that changes everything. Because attraction is not about creating something out of nothing. It's about recognizing what's already there and not disrupting it. And this is where most men go wrong. They rush, they hesitate, or they overcompensate. Some men go into a hug stiff and unsure. Their body doesn't feel natural. Their movement feels mechanical. They pull away too quickly because they're uncomfortable. Others do the opposite. They hold on too long without reading the situation. They force closeness instead of allowing it. Both reactions come from the same place, disconnection from the moment. And women feel that instantly, because for her, a hug is not just a greeting. It's a moment of emotional measurement. She's not consciously analyzing you, but she is feeling you. Is he relaxed? Is he present? Is he comfortable with closeness? Or is he nervous, distracted, or trying too hard? Your body answers those questions before you ever say a word. And this is why your response matters just as much as her signal. Because attraction is not one-sided. It's a feedback loop. She shows something, you respond, and that response either builds the connection or breaks it. Now, let's talk about the first type of hug. The one almost every man experiences, but most misunderstand completely. The friendly pat hug. This is the hug that feels light, quick, and easy. It usually lasts 1 or 2 seconds. Her body leans slightly forward, but there's minimal full contact. And often, you'll feel a couple of light pats on your back before she pulls away. On the surface, it feels polite, casual, almost neutral. And this is where most men jump to the wrong conclusion. They assume it means she's not interested. But that's not necessarily true. A friendly hug doesn't mean rejection. It means comfort, without intensity. And psychologically, comfort is the first step toward attraction. Let me explain this in a way that really clicks. Think about someone you don't feel comfortable around. Your body stays guarded. Your movements are controlled. You create distance without even realizing it. Now think about someone you feel safe with. Your body relaxes. Your posture softens. You don't overthink your movements. That's what this hug represents. She feels safe around you. She feels at ease. There's no tension, no pressure. And that is a powerful starting point. But here's where men sabotage themselves. They treat this like a final answer instead of a beginning. They pull away emotionally. They stop engaging. They assume there's no potential. And just like that, they shut down something that could have grown. So what should you do instead? You build. You don't force attraction. You don't suddenly try to become more intense. You simply deepen the connection. Stay relaxed. Stay present. Don't treat the hug like a big moment that needs to be analyzed. Treat it like part of a natural flow. Then shift your focus to the interaction. Make slightly stronger eye contact. Not intense, just present. Add a bit of warmth to your tone, a bit of playfulness to your words, and most importantly, pay attention. When she speaks, listen fully, not just to respond, but to understand. Because attention is one of the most attractive qualities a man can have. It tells her, without saying it, you matter in this moment, and that feeling creates connection. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who made you feel completely heard, completely seen? How did that make you feel? Exactly. That's the energy you want to bring after a friendly hug. Because attraction doesn't grow through pressure. It grows through presence. And when you consistently create moments where she feels comfortable, engaged, and understood, something begins to shift. The dynamic changes. The interaction becomes more natural, more fluid, more connected. And slowly, without forcing anything, that friendly energy starts evolving into something deeper. And when that happens, the next type of hug begins to appear. The one where things start to change. The firm hug. But before we go there, I want you to really sit with this. Because what we've just covered is not about hugs. It's about awareness. It's about learning to read what's already happening instead of trying to create something artificial. And if you're starting to see this differently already, then you're exactly where you need to be. And if you're enjoying this kind of deep, real insight, make sure you subscribe to the Female Signals. Because what we're building here is not just information, it's understanding. Now, let's step into the next phase. The moment where things begin to shift in a way that most men feel, but very few truly understand. The firm hug. This is where the energy changes. Unlike the friendly pat hug, this one has intention behind it. It lasts longer. There's more contact. Her arms don't just touch you, they hold you. And for a brief moment, it feels like she's actually with you, not just going through the motion. And I want you to really imagine this. You go in for a hug, and instead of a quick, light contact, you feel a steady pressure. She doesn't rush. She doesn't immediately pull away. There's a calmness in it, a presence. That difference is everything. Because psychologically, this kind of hug signals comfort that has started to deepen into familiarity. She's not just okay being around you anymore, she enjoys it. And that's a critical transition. Now here's where most men completely miss the opportunity. They respond to this hug the same way they would respond to a casual one. They pull away too quickly. Not because they want to, but because they don't recognize the shift. The moment feels slightly more intense than expected, and instead of leaning into it, they retreat from it. And in doing that, they break the connection. From her perspective, something subtle happens. She leaned in, and you didn't meet her there. And no, she's not going to say it out loud, but she feels it. And attraction is built on these tiny emotional alignments. So what should you do instead? Simple. You match her. Not in a forced way, not in a calculated way, just naturally. If the hug feels steady, stay steady. If it lasts a little longer, allow it. You don't need to hold tighter. You don't need to change anything dramatically. You just need to not interrupt what's already happening. That alone communicates something powerful. It tells her, I'm comfortable here. And comfort, especially from a man, creates emotional safety. Let me give you a scenario that will make this crystal clear. A woman meets a man she's been talking to for a while. There's already some level of comfort built through conversation. When they finally meet, the hug is different. It's not rushed. It's not awkward. It's grounded. Now, if that man stays in that moment for just a second longer, if he allows that connection to fully register instead of cutting it short, something shifts in her perception. She starts to feel, this feels right. Not because of something he said, but because of how he felt in that moment. And this is something most men underestimate. Women don't just remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel. And hugs are one of the fastest ways to create that feeling. Now here's another layer most men don't notice. What happens after the hug matters just as much. When you both pull away, does she stay close? Does she hold eye contact for a moment longer? Does she smile in a way that feels softer, more genuine? These are continuation signals, and if you're present enough to notice them, you'll start seeing a pattern. Because again, attraction is not a single moment. It's a series of aligned moments, and this is where your awareness becomes your advantage. Instead of asking yourself, does she like me? You start asking a better question. How is she showing up with me? Consistently. Now take a second and think about your own experiences. Have you ever had a moment like this, where something felt slightly deeper, but you didn't act on it because you weren't sure? If yes, comment, I missed it, below. I want to see how many of you have experienced this, because recognizing it is the first step to changing it. Now, let's move into the next level. This is where things become much more noticeable. The lingering hug, and this one is powerful, because it's not just about duration, it's about pause. You go in for the hug, and instead of a natural end after a second or two, something different happens. She stays. Her arms don't immediately loosen. Her body doesn't shift away. There's a moment where neither of you pulls back. And that pause, that silence, that stillness, that's where the meaning lives. Because in human psychology, pauses are never empty. They are filled with emotion. When someone lingers in a moment like this, It means they are comfortable enough to not rush away. And that's significant. Because most people, especially in early stages of attraction, are quick to create distance. They don't want to appear too interested. They don't want to feel exposed. So when she doesn't rush, that tells you something real is happening. Now let's go deeper. In a lingering hug, her body starts to relax. There's less control, less structure. You might feel her breathing slow down slightly. You might notice her grip soften instead of tightening or releasing. These are subconscious signals. She's not thinking about doing this. Her body is simply responding to how she feels in your presence. And what she feels is comfort mixed with growing attraction. Now here's where men often make a critical mistake. They panic. They feel the moment stretching longer than expected, and instead of allowing it, they cut it short. They break eye contact early. They step back too quickly. They interrupt something that was naturally unfolding. And the reason? They're not used to being in that kind of emotional stillness. But here's the truth. That stillness is where connection deepens. So what should you do? Nothing. And I mean that in the most powerful way possible. You don't need to escalate. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to make a move. You just need to be there, comfortable, present, unshaken by the moment. Because when a man can sit in that kind of silence without rushing or overreacting, it communicates something very rare, emotional strength. And that is deeply attractive. Let me share a short story. A woman once described a moment where she hugged a man goodbye after a date. The hug lasted longer than usual. Neither of them moved. And she said something interesting. She said, "That was the moment I knew I wanted to see him again." Not because he did something impressive, not because he said something perfect, but because he didn't break the moment. He allowed it. And in doing that, he made her feel safe to stay in it too. That's the power of presence. Now we move into the final type of hug, and this one leaves very little room for confusion. The intimate embrace. This is not casual. This is not neutral. This is connection at its clearest. Her body leans fully into yours. There is no distance, no hesitation. Her arms wrap around you with intention, and she stays. Sometimes her head rests on your shoulder, sometimes near your neck. Sometimes her hands move slowly along your back. Not randomly, but gently, almost unconsciously. And in that moment, everything slows down. This kind of hug signals something deeper, emotional comfort, combined with attraction. Because personal space is one of the strongest boundaries humans have. And when someone willingly closes that space completely, it means they feel safe. Not just physically, but emotionally. And more than that, they want to be close. Now here's something very important. In this moment, she's not just expressing something. She's observing you. She's feeling how you respond. Do you stay calm? Do you match her energy? Or do you suddenly become tense, awkward, unsure? Because your response here matters more than ever. If you pull away too quickly, you break the emotional rhythm. If you overreact, you create pressure. But if you stay grounded, if you allow the moment to unfold naturally, you reinforce everything she just showed you. You communicate. This is safe. This is natural. This is okay. And that deepens the connection instantly. Now let me ask you something important. Which of these hugs have you experienced recently? The quick, friendly one? The firm one? Or the lingering, or even intimate one? Drop your answer in the comments. Because once you start identifying these patterns in your own life, everything changes. And this brings us to the most important realization of this entire conversation. This was never just about hugs. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that attraction is not something you force. It's something you notice and respond to correctly. Most men are looking for certainty. They want a clear sign, a guarantee. But attraction doesn't work like that. It reveals itself through patterns, through repeated moments of comfort, closeness, and emotional alignment. One hug might not mean much, But multiple moments, consistent behavior, that's where clarity comes from. So instead of asking, "What did that mean?" start asking, "What patterns am I seeing?" And when you see those patterns, you don't need to rush. You don't need to overthink. You don't need to force anything. You just stay present. You stay calm. You respond naturally. And that is what creates real attraction. Because when a man is comfortable in these moments, when he doesn't panic, doesn't rush, and doesn't overanalyze, it creates a different kind of energy, a grounded energy, a confident energy. And that is something women feel immediately. So the next time you hug a woman, don't treat it like nothing. Pay attention, feel the moment, notice the details, and most importantly, notice yourself, because your response is half of the connection. And if this shifted the way you see things even a little, then you're exactly where you need to be. Make sure you subscribe to the Female Signals, because in the next video, we're going to go even deeper. I'm going to show you how to tell if she wants you to make a move without her saying a single word. And trust me, once you understand that, you'll never miss the moment again.